We are back near the Nandi Hills. The last time I rode here, it was the ultraviolet F77, and now I'm here for another EV startup, River. Interestingly, the two founders of River are ex-ultraviolet employees, and that gives some credible background to the brand compared to the tons of fly-by-night EV brands that keep mushrooming around the country. These guys too have come out of nowhere, but that's because they wanted to keep mum until their product was ready. And here it is, the River Indy, a very practical electric scooter that is big, spacious, and good-looking in its own way.
It certainly looks quirky and quite unlike anything that we've seen in the EV or the scooter space. But look at the styling, look at the bright colors. You might want to have one, especially in this yellow.
The cute face feels welcoming. There are foot pegs in the front too to maximize floor storage or to get a different riding posture. And when not in use, they're neatly tucked away. There are crash bars at the front and two floating brackets at the rear that you can tie small items to, use as an additional set of grab handles, or mount River's bespoke storage panniers for some scooter touring. The tail section looks quite smart too. In fact, the River does look unique but doesn't try too hard to look outlandish, and I like that approach.
The fit and finish is surprisingly good for a first-timer. The shuttle lines are consistent, the quality of paint, the stitching, the tactile feel of the switches. It actually feels a notch better than some of the more established players in the market, and that's good news. I like the cleanliness when it comes to the management of the cables, of the hoses, etc. However, I would be more at peace if these cables right here would be somehow shielded, covered. That would have been better.
The River Indy is a large vehicle that dwarfs the likes of the Ola S1 Pro or the Ather 450. It may look intimidating at first, but get astride and its long length, 140 kg weight, seems to disappear even if you are a rider with a small frame. Getting a comfortable seating posture is easy, and the motorcycle-like clip-on bars are within easy reach and don't mess with the knees of taller riders either. The large seat has a good grip and hides tons of storage space underneath.
There's massive amount of storage space available on this scooter. There's 43 liters under the seat. That's massive. My full face Arai helmet goes in so easily and still leaves so much more room. I mean, forget Ather, Ola. It can even put the BMW C400 GT to shame with the kind of space that it offers. And as if that wasn't enough, you also get additional 12 liters of space right here behind the apron. That said, I would want some kind of a rubber lining over here because these sharp edges are likely to scratch the helmet every time I take it out of this space.
The front compartment can't hold the charging equipment though, but you will need to open this compartment every time you want to open the charging flap, which can get cumbersome. Speaking of charging, the River Indy ships with a 800 watt charger, and charging times for 0 to 100% are between 5 to 6 hours.
The instrumentation is fairly easy to read. I like the layout, it's nice and simple. The switches on the instrumentation, however, they are a bit confusing but shouldn't take too long to get used to. The ride modes can be easily changed on the fly. All you need to do is just close the throttle and then use the ride mode selection switch right here. It's that simple. You don't have to go to any menus or do a combination of switches, etc. So, all in all, despite the SUV of scooters tagline for the Indy, the ride quality isn't really plush. That is what you would expect with that kind of a tagline, but it isn't. It is more on the firm side. The jolts or the minor undulations in the road, all of that is felt at the handlebars. You will feel it in your arms and wrists. However, the suspension travel is good enough to take on poor road conditions, deep potholes, etc. The suspension travel is quite good in that sense. The forks aren't through and through, yet they offer excellent front-end feel and stability. And contributing further to that are the 14-inch wheels and the MRF tires, which offer excellent stability and grip around corners.
But the broad floor and the low ground clearance of the Indy limits your cornering clearance to a great extent, so you can't really have much fun around the bends or even go off-roading with it. Think of this to be an electric maxi scooter that will comfortably ferry you from point A to B with enough space for your shopping and spacious seating for two.
Now there are 3 riding modes, like I said: Eco, Ride and Rush. Rush obviously is going to give you all the power that it can. It's going to compromise the range as well. Ride is where you're going to be spending most of the time. Expect about 90 kilometers of real world riding range is what the company tells us, and I think that should be achievable looking at the kind of onboard estimates that we've got. Now there's the Eco mode as well, which will give you about 50 to 60 kilometers of top speed, which is usually good enough for your city commutes, but overtakes obviously are very dull in the Eco mode. Interestingly, however, if you do reach a flyover, or maybe you need to climb a bridge or something, it will still do that in the Eco mode. Even if the batteries are low, it will manage the current in such a way that you will still be able to get that power and torque to scale that incline. So not the kind of stuff that the Ola S1 Pro does, right? So this is definitely good news. The Eco mode on this works as intended and still doesn't get you in any sticky situations. Now at 10% state of charge, it will lock the scooter in Eco mode. You will not be able to move to any other modes after that. But it will ensure that the current is again played in such a way that your performance is reduced even further if you have to, and then it at least takes you home. It gives you that last bit of mileage that is required. So overall, I think the battery management, the range management is done quite nicely, at least on paper. We'll have to ride this, road test this in the real world to be able to find out how true those claims are.
The scooter doesn't feel as brisk as the Ather 450X, but has an agreeable performance to go with its practical intent. And that is what I like about the River Indy. It doesn't pretend to be the sportiest, fastest, quickest, or the sickest EV in the market. From its design to its performance, it takes an approach of utility and practicality. And after all, that is exactly what a scooter should be. Its range and charging estimates are also on par with the segment standards, so it seems to tick all the right boxes. The only thing that remains to be seen is how soon River is able to set up its sales and service network, and whether the pricing of the scooter remains accessible as well, now that the introductory price of Rs 1.25 lakh is no longer valid. Anything above Rs 1.6 lakh at showroom will send it into dangerous territory. So let's hope the price tag remains as sensible as the rest of the scooter.